last week.
But yeah, that's right. PowerPoint presentation. Okay, we will call this meeting of the Sunday County Commissioners to order on Tuesday, June the 13th, 2017. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Thomas, will you lead us in prayer, please?
Hi, guys. Lord, please guide us in our work today for the community and bless us with your presence as we contemplate the community's business. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Roll call there, young lady.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes, here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Spacey?
Judge?
Here.
Okay, and then I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from Tuesday, June 6th, and the written index thereof.
So moved.
Second. You started to say so moved before you got that all out.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you very much.
Did you anticipate
Okay,
that?
have to talk faster. In respect for council's time, I am going to call on Director of Law, Brett Howard from the City of Tiffin, to give us an idea as to why he's here.
Thank you, Mr. Kirschner. You have in your packet, part of your agenda, a petition that was filed last week, a petition for annexation of 1.164 acres of property that's owned by the City of Tiffin. The property is located currently in Hopewell Township. It's directly contiguous, adjacent to the City of Tiffin jurisdiction. It is right off of US 224 and next to the 60-plus acres of property that you annexed a year ago, or you approved the annexation and went through the statutory process. The location is where the city street will be situated, going into serving the 60-plus acres that is being developed, we hope, next to 224. We are following the expedited process laid out by the Ohio Revised Code. As you may know, many years ago there was a cooperative development agreement that was signed by the county commissioners, Hopewell Township trustees, and the city administration. Because of that, and because the property is owned by one owner and the owner consents to the annexation, we follow an expedited process. The resolution that is presented to you today lays out the various findings that you need to make in order to approve the resolution. And in fact, the statute says that you approve this at the next meeting following the filing of the annexation petition without hearing. So you can't even necessarily hear any comments from the public. I think the policy behind that is that the political subdivisions have reached an agreement on revenue sharing and have made an agreement on how annexation could be done in a very efficient and cooperative way. So we've presented this petition to the City of Tiffin. We've added the map of the area. We've got a legal description attached as required. There's an agent's list of adjacent properties. The cooperative development agreement is also attached as required. So I believe you have everything you need before you. So we'd ask your approval of the petition.
Okay, you want to kind of sum it up?
Yeah, I have a resolution granting the annexation for the City of Tiffin for parcel of land being 1.164 plus or minus in section 26 of Hopewell Township, Seneca County, Ohio.
Okay.
Right. Are those agreements ongoing, or do they need to be renewed, and what's the status of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. They do have a term limit, and I believe it's coming up here in the next year or two.
I thought it was 18, but
Yeah. So it was, I believe, a 20-year agreement. It was late 90s, so that is something that the commissioners, local township trustees, and the city may want to consider further discussions to extend those. on same terms or different terms. I would leave that up to the policymakers to.
Is that something we should initiate, or is that something the city will initiate?
It could be initiated by anyone. I know the mayor is aware of it.
Okay.
And is considering how to proceed. So I believe he will reach out to you and the township trustees at the appropriate time.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the annexation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
3 yeses. All right, thank you,
Thank
Law
you.
Director Howard. Okay, any additional business to be added under old business?
Just a mention of the Corley Township meeting.
Okay. And away we go. So Justice Center update, Commissioner Stacy.
Just a thank you to Gilbane and Company over there for getting things prepped for us for the walking tours that were done. There was a few on Friday night with some employees and so forth, and then for the public on Saturday. Appreciate them, getting it tidied up so we could walk through in those 2 floors, as well as the signs they made that helped explain everything for all of us working that. And not a huge turnout, but everybody that came through was excited to be able to see it in that stage of development and so forth. So I just appreciate their cooperation. Progress continues. You can see the mason work going on, and as we were through, you can see the HVAC stuff in place on 1 and 2. Continuing that to 3 and 4. Obviously, 4's still got to be studded up. Otherwise, you got an open floor, Judge.
It'll cool off in the fall.
And I just want to also point out that Holly did a lot of work on this, and I really appreciate your extra effort to make that come off so well. So I really appreciate that.
Yep, I will certainly repeat that. Quarterly township meetings.
The quarterly township meeting, just to mention where we all individually belong to that, and we'll be at that, well, if you guys are going or not, but it's Thursday night in Republic.
This
time.
Thursday.
This Thursday night,
June the 14th, 15th.
15. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. On new business, anything to add under new business before we get started? Okay, Flagpole Commissioner's Office. It just seems to me that we don't have any representation of the flag flying at this office, and that we either ought to have something attached to the building, or there ought to be something displayed someplace. I think preliminary cost on a pole and was somewhere around $2,000. I thought that's what John said, for a pole and
Installation
the
of it.
flag installation and the whole thing. I'm not even sure where we ought to put it. My sense is maybe on the corner of Jefferson and Madison, but that's up for question. But it just seems to me that there ought to be something flying at the government office here for a couple of reasons. Mostly just to show our pride in our country, but also that when there are situations in which we need to respect folks by flying at half-mast, those kind of things we ought to be able to do. So I would entertain a motion to allot up to $2,000 to install a flagpole at a location to be determined that flew both the, mostly the flag of the United States, but we could also fly the state flag or the county flag if there were one to be redone with appropriate symbolism on the flag.
There you go. There you go.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Who maintains the flag at the court, the Justice Center?
Our maintenance.
They hoisted?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mr. President, any estimate on the height of that pole?
I think there's probably standard heights, Ron, and I'm not sure what they are.
Okay.
But, it would be something that would be dominant, enough that it could be recognized, yeah.
It'll look like a car dealership.
Yeah, we have a couple of flags, or I have a
love
couple
big
of
flags
flags
from
that
Astoria.
have been flown over the Capitol. And I know that we have the ability to get those from time to time, so for special occasions, we can put up flags that have also been flown over the Capitol.
We may be able to use grant money from OSS on that too, get recycled.
Yeah, that would be a
Material.
wonderful thing. And we will make sure that we buy our flags that are manufactured in the state of Ohio. There's a couple of places. Okay, Go Rail. I know very little bit about this. I did read the request from the, which county commissioners?
Hancock County.
Hancock County Commissioners asking us to endorse. I'm not sure what. Go ahead.
Yeah, essentially there was additional regulations coming down on the railroads, and the railroads have formed some kind of activist group that would, you know, prevent those regulations from changing. You know, I kind of feel like this is above our pay grade. You know, we're on both sides of this issue, and we have citizens that their number one concern is rail stoppages. You know, that
Crossings
crossroad
and noise.
crossings with
Yeah.
noise and blocked crossings. But then, of course, you know, we have a lot of folks that work for the railroad and businesses that depend on the railroad. So I just kind of feel like this is above my pay grade to take a position on this, not knowing both sides of.
Yeah, I agree with you, Commissioner. I don't know the other side of this issue. I read through what they're asking us to endorse, but I don't know what the opposition says. So having said that, I don't really think that, I know I'm not in a position to sign anything at this point.
I'm not either, I've not read it. I know when I came in last Wednesday or Thursday, I was busy with but I didn't read through all the stuff, so I do not.
Well, why don't you read through it, and we'll talk about it again Tuesday if there's anything you want to talk about. I did email them back and say, you know, give me one-page summary of the opposition. I haven't got anything yet. So, okay. I guess we go on to supplemental appropriations.
I'm gonna pull out one of the resolutions. I asked Dan to come up. We got the contract back from Derek for the Motorola solutions for the next generation 911 system.
Oh, good.
I know, Mike, you brought it up at one of our meetings, just to give a heads up to the commissioners about it. And
Right.
I think I sent out the contract to each of you prior, because
You'll talk about funding for that too, Danny,
so
where it's coming from.
I asked him to come up. That way, if there's any questions about it before we move forward with the contract, I figured he's better to answer the questions than I am.
Sure. Go ahead. Why don't you give us kind of the 10,000-foot view here?
Okay, basically, we need to replace our existing 911 system, and we need to put in what they call the next generation 911 system. We're gonna be required, there isn't an active requirement now, but in just a few years, there will be a requirement from the state to have this, so that all of our 911 data will be coming from the SOC, the State Operations Center. All the telephone companies will feed into that, and data will be distributed out from there to all 88 counties based on a geo type situation, latitude, longitude. So we need to have our ducks in a row here to be able to do all that.
So it's a better mapping system to locate people when they're
Yes,
in a problem.
definitely.
And it also ensures that if they're in our area, the phone call goes to us as opposed to somewhere else.
Right, it's going to help some of the misrouting that naturally occurs with the cell phone systems.
Sure.
Today, the technology is based off of the antennas on the cell towers, what direction they're faced. When you put a cell tower in Tiffin or close to the Tiffin city limits, for instance, we may have some faces that we want to send to the sheriff's office and some faces to route to Tiffin PD, which is exactly what we do. Well, there's a crossover point there where people in Tiffin would go to the sheriff's office, people in the county would go to Tiffin Police. This takes it from a GIS lat lawn, and they know where these people are, and the routing does much better, and we have a much better job of having the information for the responders too.
Okay. So let's talk about cost and where that's coming from.
Cost is just under $500,000 for the main portion of the system. There's some ancillary equipment that needs to be upgraded that goes along with that. We've kind of got a couple things going on here. We need to buy a 911 system. This Motorola Solutions, Emergency Solutions by Motorola, they would be the main part of the system. And for the just under $500,000, they would put all the equipment in place to operate that system, all the software in place. They would give us a 10-year extension on all software and maintenance on the system.
And that, just to interrupt you one second, that was a real selling point to the Motorola because some of the other ones weren't gonna support you into the future.
Well, they all talked about the 5-year. Motorola offered the 10-year, which it gets really even better because part of this contract, they come back in at 5 years and completely exchange out all of that equipment again. So we have a complete hardware refresh at 5 years. So we should be set on the main part of the system for 10 years on that. Now, what we need to do, besides that part of it, we are responsible for the connectivity of this. They're just supplying all the computers and all the routing and all this stuff that takes it to work. And we've talked about the fiber ring for a long time now. That could be part of this. We need to have the connectivity. We're also responsible for the mapping portion of it. That's not part of the system. So we're going to have some over and above costs over and above the 500,000 too. But there is money in the 911 line item to purchase this stuff.
How's that generated, that money?
That money is generated on a per cell phone basis for any bill that's produced for the resident of Seneca County. The money comes to the county, and that's put in, it's required by law to put in a special fund. And we've done really good over the years on saving that money, and we do have dollars to do this.
How much is in that account at this point? Round figure, I'm not gonna say.
700.
700,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought, I remember.
Yep.
Okay. So there will be some residual money left, if necessary, for other issues involving 911.
And there will be over and above expenses. We talked about that the other day, and there will be some
I
things.
just want to emphasize that it's not a general fund expense.
Nope.
It's an expense that has been accrued for over the past number of years. We plan to continue to accrue that money into that account as time goes on.
Yes.
And there will be sufficient money not only for the hardware, software, but also the connectivity.
Right, and I failed to mention how much goes into that. I think it's 24 cents per cell phone per month. So it's pretty minimal on the consumer side, but it does generate enough dollars to maintain our 911 system here in the county.
About 100.
So,
120,000 a year maybe?
So I just want to understand this issue as it relates to the fiber issue. If you purchase this equipment and you move forward with this, you have a solution to utilize this equipment regardless of whether or not we proceed with a fiber ring?
We do. We just to refresh on that, we have T1s
Right.
in place at this point that we use today. And the issue with the T1s, if you recall, they are getting filled up. So that needs to be upgraded someday also. We can purchase this equipment, we can make connectivity, we can get this system up and running.
So for the near future, we'll be able to support this 911 system and all calls will go through with full functionality?
Yes.
in the near
Now,
future?
we're not connected to the state yet.
Yeah.
That will happen down the road. I don't want to leave that.
But we have to insert here that the committee talked about and Motorola said that it would be, the function of the system would be much more efficient if there were fiber.
Yes.
And if everything were connected properly. And that, I mean, the folks on the committee, and I think you, Dan, said that the T1 lines are getting a little tired and it's getting to be old technology at this point.
T1s have been around since the 60s. It is very old technology. There's not much capacity there. We're close to capacity on that. We're okay, but as things come on board, this system's capable of receiving text, receiving photos, receiving videos.
So in a perfect world, we would have the fiber set up, but I understand that we're able to connect it now based on
Yes.
what we have, the system that we have in place. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people know
Sure.
that regardless of how quickly we move on this fiber issue,
Right.
that their calls are going to be received and it's going to be the best technology that's available. We need to assure people of that, so.
Yep, that's all true.
And hopefully before we'd have to do any upgrading to T1 lines, we would know what our plan is and have all the research, you know, the stuff Jake's getting all that together for us on doing the fiber ring before we'd have to do anything beyond a repair of a T1, anything more expensive or time consuming.
That's all I have.
Okay, very good, thank you very much, Dan, I appreciate that, it's a good update. So, we gonna have that separate, or are you gonna put it with the rest of them?
I can just put it with the rest of them.
Okay, let's do her then.
All right, I have a supplement to the permanent appropriation to the concealed handgun license fund, putting $1,680 into equipment. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the probate court conduct of business fund, putting $600 into other expense. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the maintenance and repair fund. He's putting $396,336.20 into contract projects.
What we got, what's that one?
Probably for one of his, I do have a contract here, it might be for that one. Resolution. For him, yep, it's for the chip seal, project. Let's see, what does it say?
This is from the engineer then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
That we did a couple
Yes.
weeks ago, a week ago.
Yep.
So I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the general fund, putting $44,761 into contract services. This is to put funding in for the sheriff's office and the engineer's garage. I don't think we had enough put in that line originally. So after the bids came in, she needed an additional $44,000 to put enough.
Is that
for both
parking lots, or
projects.
is that?
It's sheriff's lots.
Yeah.
And then drive in front of the engineer's office.
Yes.
I have a supplement to the permit appropriations to the Issue 1 Township Road Reconstruction Fund, putting in $1,039,923.47. I have an appropriation adjustment within the SFY Sheriff's, 17 Sheriff's Community Corrections Grant Fund. He's moving various lines, a total amount $2,965.72. I have a resolution authorizing Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into a contract with Henry Bergman Incorporated for the 2017 Seneca County Chip Seal Project B and C-1703. I have a resolution authorizing the disposal of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit county-owned vehicles. This is a 2006 Ford Expedition that EMS is trading in for their new vehicles. But we also have a resolution for the disposal of a 2000 and, I think they were both in here.
Does this mean we're trading them in, or does this mean
Trade
we're
them
going
in.
to sell them? Okay.
Nope, we traded them in. So, there it is, yep.
These are the ones I signed for, so we're getting,
Yes, the 2008 Jeep Liberty we're trading in, and the 2006 Ford Expedition we're trading
so
in.
we're getting forgiveness instead of permission here?
Forgiveness instead of permission.
We already did?
Well, it was in the budget.
Okay.
We already did it in the budget. We gotta wait until the paperwork comes in before we can finalize the resolutions. It seems kind of backwards. We're
Okay.
gonna be approving the purchase of the vehicles, which we did during budgets. We just have to, when we had to do the resolutions, we have to put the VIN number in and details for the auditor's office. So it does seem kind of backwards. I have a resolution authorizing the contract with Motorola Solutions for the next generation 911 system on behalf of Seneca County Emergency Management Agency. I have a resolution authorizing the purchase of two 2017 Ford F-150s through the Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program from local vendors in lieu of bidding on behalf of the Seneca County Emergency Services Department. I have a resolution amending the board's orders from July 17th, 2008, volume 82, page 216, superseding all previous resolutions, established fees for the Seneca County Dog Warden Department effective immediately. There is no amount changes. There was just some suggestion from the state auditor's office in the language we put in the resolutions. Let me see, all the amounts were exactly the same. She had to change, we have to do a 14-day hold on specific dogs, so she had to put that language in there, and just a recommendation of the state auditor's office. So there's no increase in fees, there's no anything. I have a resolution accepting the bid of M&B Asphalt for the sheriff and engineer's parking lot asphalt projects. Total bid was $159,761 even. I have a resolution rescinding the board's orders of June 6, 2017, volume 93, page 231. It's for an appropriation to the Sheriff's Community Corrections Grant Fund. Didn't have enough funds to adjust, so I had to rescind that one. And I think that's all I have.
Did I hear something about 2000, did I hear anything about 2008 Jeep Liberty?
Yes, I did both of those together.
You
Yep.
did them together, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to say before we make a motion, Dan, on behalf of the commissioners, I want to thank you very much for your hard work on this 911. I know that you coordinated it, and it's been a long process.
It has.
And, you know, Motorola, it all sounds like this is a solution, but there was a lot of work into research and coordination. So thank you very much for your hard work on that. That's above and beyond. Appreciate it. Okay, so I'll accept the motion for the appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. I believe that it is time for public comment, if we have any. Yes, Ron?
I have a question for Dan, and this goes back about 20 years ago when I was in charge of dispatch at the sheriff's office. I believe it was you who had told me at that time that each exchange, like the Tiffin exchange, has a limited number of lines that are available, and that if there would be some kind of a major disaster, that once you reach that limit, the next person who picks up a handset, and again, we were going back to the old home phones, they would not get a dial tone. Is that still true?
It is. It's any capacity on the telco systems of today has limited amount of calls that can be handled at once. I always use the scenario that I can remember being a little kid, and we'd get snowed in for a day from school. And what's the first thing we want to do is pick up the phone and call Grandma. Well, you couldn't even get a dial tone because every kid in town was picking up the phone and calling Grandma. The systems are built out to like, I don't know, 20, 30%, something like that, the standard telco systems. On a 911, that's a whole different animal. And yeah, there's a specific amount of trunks that go onto the 911 system. And it's no different than a cell phone of today. A cell tower only handle so many calls. And we don't see that as much now, because you all remember back in the days of analog where you couldn't get every call made because it was terrible. With the digital stuff, it's gotten a lot better. But yes.
Now, the fiber system that you're discussing, would that increase that capacity or eliminate that problem?
I don't know, because we're on the backside of that. The fiber system that we're talking about is to forward the data that is received by either the cell companies or the telephone companies, the telcos. That limitation, I believe, would be on their end, not our end. So but we need a stronger data pipe. View the fiber as a pipe. You know, it's running like 3/4 full now.
Right.
So we need a bigger pipe to do things that we need to do down the road.
Right.
Looks like it's just one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Should the other two sign below just?
Actually, we can do all
Okay.
that.
Go ahead and sign all of it. Okay, anything else? Hearing nothing, we are adjourned at 10:30.